This is the story of the rich executive who dumped his pregnant girlfriend. Please subscribe to this channel for more stories. Thank you. Maya Nwosu pressed two fingertips against the satin sash at her waist and tried to still the thrum of her pulse. All afternoon she had rehearsed the moment, glide into their top-floor condo, meet Evan's eyes, and break the news with the same poise she used when unveiling a branding campaign to high-stake clients. But as the keycard clicked open and the scent of white orchid candles drifted toward her, the thrill of anticipation tangled with fear. It was golden hour in Lagos, and their penthouse caught the last ribbons of sunlight that streaked across Victoria Island. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed a skyline of cranes and glittering towers, proof of Evan Quinn's talent for betting on tomorrow. He stood at the marble island, crisp shirt sleeves rolled to the elbow, tapping on a sleek holo tablet. His loosened tie and discarded suit jacket hinted at workday fatigue, yet he radiated the aloof elegance that had first intrigued Maya 3 years earlier during a tech conference in Dubai. She cleared her throat. Evan. He glanced up, eyes the color of storm clouds mid-convergence. Give me 1 minute. The New York bridge call ran over. I still need to submit this revision. Maya crossed to the chrome barcat and poured sparkling water, buying time. Underneath her dress, her stomach fluttered, part nerves, part the faint stir of new life. She inhaled slowly. The doctor's earlier words echoed, 7 weeks along, heartbeat strong. Excitement vibrated through her, but the memory of Evan's recent moodiness shadowed her optimism. When the tablet finally snapped shut, Evan exhaled. Sorry, I'm extracted. Exhausted, she corrected gently, and they shared a quick laugh, an old joke about his habit of swapping words when stress spiked. He stepped forward, brushed his lips against her cheek, and lingered just long enough for Maya to notice the faint scent of espresso masking something sharper, adrenaline or anxiety. What's the surprise? You said tonight was important. She guided him toward the dining table where she had set 2 plates of jollof risotto, grilled sea bass, and a petite strawberry cheesecake. A single calla lily arched over a candle, flame flickering like her resolve. Evan's brows lifted. A midweek feast. A celebration, she said, taking the seat across from him. Or at least I hope it feels that way. They ate in polite silence for several minutes. Evan scrolled messages beneath the table between bites, responding with curt thumb strokes. Maya studied him. The perfect posture. The sculpted jaw tightened just enough to betray tension. He had landed another funding round for his fintech this morning, yet he looked as if victory tasted sour. She set her fork down. There's something I need to tell you. His eyes shot to hers, finally present. Bad news or good? That depends on your perspective, she said, fingers sliding to her flat abdomen. I'm pregnant. The room seemed to flex, sound sucked clean from the air. Evan's gaze dropped to her stomach, then lifted, guarded. Pregnant, he repeated, as if testing the word for fractures. How? The usual way. She tried to joke, but her voice cracked. Remember when we missed that flight connection in Nairobi 2 months ago? The blackout suite, the monsoon outside. A flash of heat crossed his face, nostalgia tinted with alarm. He rose, paced toward the window. We were careful. You said you were on. I know what I said. But medicine is not math. Sometimes 1 + 1 = 3. Evan's hand raked through his hair. Maya, the timing is impossible. I am finalizing the Singapore expansion, our IPO roadmap, board precious. She stood too, unwilling to cower. I run my own design studio. Clients queue for months. Busy is not a synonym for barren. That is not what He broke off, palms spread in apology yet eyes cold. I am not ready to be a father. The final word dropped like ice into boiling water. Fizzle, then silence. Maya pressed a hand to her chest. We can be ready together. We love each other. Evan stayed at the city lights, lips moving without sound, computing variables. Then he pivoted, voice distant. I need time to think. Take all the time you want, she replied, heartbeat hammering. But the clock inside me is already ticking. Evan did not answer. He returned to the island, reopened his tablet. The conversation was over because he had decided it was, and the sudden gulf between them yawned wider than the lagoon. Maya gathered plates with steady hands, though tears blurred her vision. The strawberry cheesecake remained untouched. A week slid by in uneasy limbo. Evan buried himself in 16-hour days, texting Maya sporadically about logistics, appointment schedules, supplement lists, never emotion. When he did come home, he collapsed onto the sofa with reports, eyes glazed from blue light fatigue. Maya, battling nausea and doubt, tried to bridge the void with warmth. She left sticky notes on his coffee mug, thinking of you. She sent funny fetus facts. Baby's heart is already beating. Evan answered with emojis, thumbs up, clock, briefcase, each one a pixel of detachment. Friday evening arrived heavy with monsoon clouds. Maya waited by the bay window, wearing a cobalt-wrapped dress that draped softly over her slight bump. She rehearsed a speech about partnership and courage. When the front door opened, she saw at once tonight would not invite speeches. Evan's tie was gone, top buttons undone, jaw clenched. Water streaked his shoulders where rain had punctured traffic. He pulled off his shoes mechanically. "We need to talk," he said. Maya's throat tightened. She motioned to the couch, but he remained standing, arms folded. "I cannot do this," he stuttered, voice low. "The board is scrutinizing every personal liability right now. Investors panic over founders with messy stories. An unexpected child." She cut in, incredulous. "Our daughter is not a liability. She is a life." "Daughter." His eyes widened. "I saw the sonographer today. Her heart is perfect." "Congratulations," he said, as if someone else had earned it. "But you do not grasp what is at stake. If I falter, hundreds of employees suffer, stockholders revolt." Maya's anger fled. "So your image outranks my womb." Evan paced, shoes squeaking on marble. "Stop twisting my words. I care about you, but I feel trapped." The word sliced. She stepped closer. "You feel trapped because actions have consequences. Welcome to adulthood." Lightning flashed outside, illuminating the torment in his eyes. Fear wearing arrogance as armor. He grabbed his phone, thumbed for a ride. "Go stay with your sister for a few days. Clear our heads." "Evan, it is storming." Wind howled against the glass, rain beginning its assault. "The driver will drop you safely." A taxi icon blinked acceptance. Maya's pulse roared in her ears. "You are sending me away like unwanted furniture." "I am asking for space." Maya's heart cracked, and with it, some final tolerance for his cowardice. She walked into the bedroom, packed a small overnight bag, maternity vitamins, sketchbook, the framed ultrasound photo. When she returned, Evan stood by the door, umbrella in hand. He reached as though to hug her, then thought better, offering the umbrella instead. She ignored it. "If I cross that threshold tonight, things will not go back." His voice was barely audible. "Maybe that is for the best." Outside, thunder rumbled. Evan opened the door onto a corridor of polished stone. Far below, the taxi's headlights glimmered like twin accusations. Maya stepped into the hole, bag slung over her shoulder, and faced him one last time. "Fear is not fatal, Evan, but abandonment can be." He flinched. She held his gaze until the elevator arrived, then entered. The door slid shut on the image of him standing motionless, umbrella hanging useless at his side. Rain hammered the city. By the time the taxi reached ground level, streets were silver rivers bisecting neon lights. Maya climbed in, soaked at once. As the vehicle lurched forward, cramps rippled across her abdomen, sharp, insistent. She pressed a palm where life fluttered. "Not now. Please, little star. Hold on." "Tough night?" the driver asked, glancing at her pale reflection in the mirror. She managed a brittle laugh. "You have no idea." They had barely cleared 2 blocks before the pain intensified, hot bands cinching her spine. Maya gasped, doubling forward. The driver swerved toward the cab. "Madam, hospital." Maya nodded, lips bloodless. Darkness pinwheeled at the edges of her vision. She fumbled for her phone, typed one text to Evan. "Blood." Heighting dot. But the signal flickered. The phone slipped from her grasp as the world tilted. She heard the driver shouting. Then everything dissolved into rain-washed blur. Sound returned first. Steady beeps, distant hisses, the muted roll of trolley wheels. Light came next, bright but diffused behind gauzy curtains. Maya's eyelids felt glued, her tongue sand dry. She tried to swallow and tasted antiseptic. A male voice murmured near her bed. Emergency cesarean at 28 weeks. Hemorrhagic shock on arrival. Systolic 85. Stabilized after transfusion. A female voice responded, soft yet resolute. Neonate is 1.9 kilograms. Oxygen saturation holding. We will keep nasal PAP until she can breathe unaided. Maya forced her eyes open. Fluorescent bars hummed overhead. She lay in an ICU suite, tubes spidering from her arms. Panic fled, her baby. She struggled to sit. An alarm squealed and the curtain snapped back. A nurse with kind eyes pressed her shoulders gently. Easy, Miss Nwosu. You came through surgery 12 hours ago. Baby Nova is in the neonatal intensive care unit. She is fighting, and so are you. Nova. The name sounded like sunrise through smoke. Maya's lips quivered. Alive. Alive, the nurse affirmed, adjusting the drip. Rest. Later we will wheel you in to see her. Maya breathed, emotion crashing over her in waves. Relief, guilt, grief. Evan's absence yawned inside the silence. She turned her head, half expecting him to materialize. Only another nurse charting vitals occupied the room. Hours blurred. Maya floated between sleep and waking, mind darting. Did Evan read the text? Does he even know? Each thought stabbed. Finally, a wheelchair arrived, and the nurses guided his shivering body into its seat. The NICU glowed blue-white, machines blinking like constellations of fragile hope. Rows of incubators cradled tiny warriors, each a silent battle. They stopped at one plexiglass shell. Inside, her daughter lay swaddled in miniature blankets, skin the delicate shade of new copper. A swirl of dark curls crowned her head, and under the respirator prongs her mouth parted with detainment breaths. Maya pressed a palm to the glass, tears dripping onto her gown. Hello, my Nova, she whispered. I am here. Behind her, a shuffle of footsteps. She glanced back and froze. Evan stood in the doorway, face gaunt, hair disheveled. His tailored suit jacket was gone, replaced by a wrinkled tee and hospital visitor badge. Eyes rimmed as if he had not slept in days. He spoke first. I came as soon as the driver called me from your phone. His gaze fell on the baby, and whatever composure he possessed shattered. Shoulders shook with a soundless sob. Maya's own grief threatened to splinter, but anger flickered too. She turned forward, ignoring him, focusing on Nova's tiny chest rising and falling. Nurses whispered and withdrew, sensing the storm front. Evan inched closer, voice raw. She is beautiful. She is strong, Maya corrected, never looking at him. Strength is how she got here. He nodded, swallowing emotion. I read the charts, every line. I know what you both endured. Maya finally met his eyes hollowed by guilt. Endured, she echoed. Past tense, as though the hardest part is over. Evan's lips trembled. Let me help. Help. Her laugh broke, half sob, half ache. You helped create the crisis. Words hung heavy, louder than the ventilator hiss. Evan clasped his hands, knuckles white. There is no excuse. I panicked. I valued metrics over miracles. I will regret that every day. Regret is a luxury, she said. Our daughter needs presence, not pity. I will be here, he vowed, stepping beside her. She angled the wheelchair away, a subtle barrier. We will see. For the next hours, Evan kept vigil from a respectful distance. He scribbled in a leather journal between glances at the incubator. Once, Maya asked the nurse a question about bilirubin levels, and Evan answered softly before the nurse could respond, having already researched the data. Their eyes met in brief recognition of shared concern, then parted again. Night deepened. Maya's body demanded rest, though her heart clawed to stay. As nurses wheeled her back, she glimpsed Evan placing his palm against the incubator glass, lips moving in silent lullaby. Something inside her cracked, letting slivers of tenderness seep through. But she closed her eyes, reminding herself that sorrow wore many disguises, and one of them was remorse too late. Dawn leaked through the high hospital windows like watered-down peach juice, turning the pale linoleum into a glimmering river. Maya sat propped in a rocking chair the nurses had wheeled in for her, arms hugged around a heat pack that eased her incision. She had not closed her eyes in hours. Each blink summoned dreams in which alarms shrieked, and when she startled awake she would find her daughter still fighting beneath the blue phototherapy lamps. Nova looked impossibly small, a delicate origami swan of limbs and tubing. Yet she possessed a quiet authority that no incubator could disguise. Every breath seemed a stubborn refusal to exit the world she had only just entered. Maya traced circles on the plexiglass with a fingertip, whispering fragments of lullabies her late grandmother used to hum in Igbo. Obim, NNN, Chinik NSG. My heart, do not fear. God watches you. Behind her, slippers scuffed. Evan eased into the chair beside her, clutching 2 cups of decaf ginger tea. He offered one wordlessly. Maya accepted, inhaling the steam. The ginger stung her throat pleasantly. They watched their daughter in silence until Evan finally spoke. I named each line in her ventilator chart after star clusters, so I would not think of them as wires. That way I can tell myself she is exploring constellations rather than cages. Maya nodded. Whatever helps you breathe is valid. He shifted, hesitant. The nurse said she loves skin-to-skin time once she is stable enough. I understand there's a protocol. It is called kangaroo care, Maya said, mind flickering to the pamphlet she had read at 3 in the morning. When the neonatologist approves, we will take turns holding her against our chests to keep her temperature steady. He swallowed, gaze on Nova's fluttering eyelids. When that day comes, I would like to be present. I will not deny you, she answered, though her tone held caution, like a lock left half engaged. But being present requires you to stay even when her eyes are closed. Evan set his tea down, fingers tightening around the paper rim. I have cleared the next 3 weeks. My COO is fielding investor calls, and I joined every neonatal parenting webinar I could find. I am here, Maya. I intend to earn the right to remain here. Across the NICU, monitors pinged. A nurse adjusted a drip, and an overhead television played muted morning news. Maya considered Evan's words the way an appraiser studies a gemstone, tilting them, checking for cracks. She thought of the umbrella he had offered instead of comfort, the taxi door that had closed like a verdict. She thought, too, of the journal he scribbled in and the pillow she had glimpsed tucked beneath his head each dawn on the waiting room sofa. You can start by reading to her, Maya said at last. Voice recognition begins early. She deserves to learn it does not vanish when storms come. Evan's shoulders sagged, relief and gratitude washing his face. I will bring a book tonight. Something bright. Nova prefers science, Maya teased gently, surprising herself with the softness in her tone. Space and light. Evan blinked, absorbing the olive branch, then rose. I know the perfect one, Carl Sagan in children's prose. He walked away hurriedly, as if afraid the moment might revoke itself. Maya returned her attention to Nova. Your father is learning, she whispered. Learning often hurts, but living is full of lessons. Minutes later, Evan reappeared with a hospital volunteer pushing a portable harp. The volunteer sat near the incubator and began plucking a soft, celestial melody that folded the beeps and hiss of machines into something almost tender. Maya closed her eyes. For once, peace did not feel like an intruder in the room. She fits in the crook of my palm in dreams. I wake with my hand curved around empty space. A reminder that my greatest success weighs fewer grams than a ripe peach, yet outweighs every stock ticker I once worshipped. He paused, pen hovering. The financial mind that once ordered thoughts and bullet-point agendas now tumbled in free verse. Each stanza served as confession, each line a fragile bridge toward absolution he might never deserve. Later that afternoon, Maya's sister, Chica, strode into the ward with a bag brimming with plantain chips, burdock root tea, and a hand-stitched nursing pillow. She greeted Maya with a fierce hug, then eyed Evan over Maya's shoulder like a customs officer inspecting contraband guilt. You look thinner, Chica told Maya, voice bright but wary. Let me feed you. Maya smiled. Hospital porridge is not exactly Michelin-starred. Chica produced a thermos. Homemade egusi soup. Doctor-approved spices only. While Maya sipped, Chica fixed Evan with a clinical stare. And you? When was the last time you ingested anything that grew from the earth rather than from venture capital? Evan scratched his jaw. Pizza. Chica clucked, thrusting a second thermos into his hands. Swallow your pride with some plant proteins. If your brain is to remain useful, your body needs more than espresso and remorse. Evan accepted, cheeks flushing. Maya bit back a smile. Chica's bluntness, once overwhelming, now felt like ballast keeping them from drifting into self-pity. When visiting hours ended, Maya rested her head against Chica's shoulder. "Thank you for playing gatekeeper." Chica squeezed her hand. "I am here for both of you. Truth be told, the world rarely offers redo buttons. If he presses this properly, do not rip the game console from him." Maya nodded, though uncertainty still tugged at her. Forgiveness was a staircase, and each step demanded its own breath. 2 days later, Nova's oxygen needs decreased. The neonatologist, Dr. Adefemi, approached with a gentle smile. "Maya, Evan, are you ready for kangaroo care?" Maya glanced at Evan. His eyes glistened. "We are." They scrubbed arms to the elbow, changed into sterile gowns, and sat on recliners placed side by side. Nurses untangled tubes with the reverence of handling stained glass windows, then nestled Nova, wearing only a diaper and a heart monitor patch, onto Maya's bare chest. Warmth spread through Maya's sternum like morning sunlight creeping across a tile floor. Nova's breath quickened, then steadied, as if recognizing the drumbeat that had cradled her before birth. Tears pooled under Maya's lashes and slid into her hair. After 30 minutes, a nurse transferred Nova patiently to Evan. He lifted the infant as if she were a dove made of thin paper, pressing her against his skin. Maya watched his expression melt from terror to wonder. Evan's voice, usually crisp and authorial, lowered to a tremor. He whispered a line from Sagan. "We are made of star stuff, little light. Even galaxies cannot boast what you already carry." Nova's tiny fingers opened and closed against his collarbone. The monitor displayed her heart rate, stable, even stronger. Dr. Adefemi murmured satisfaction. Maya studied the scene and understood something staggering. Evan's love was not a webpage that could be refreshed for updates. It had always been code buried beneath Faye. When the session ended, Evan placed Nova back inside the incubator, then turned to Maya. "Thank you for trusting me enough to let that happen." She held his gaze, breathing through the storm of feelings. Trust is not a switch. It is a muscle. Her hand brushed the chair arm, stopping short of his. Muscles grow when strained. Evan nodded. "Then I hope for many workades." They shared a tentative smile as the harp volunteer played a lullaby that glimmered like sunrise over calm water. 3 floors below the NICU, a private conference room hummed with low voices and the distant ding of elevators. Evan had rented the space for daily remote check-ins with his executive team, unwilling to leave the hospital for more than minutes at a time. A wheeled whiteboard displayed risk charts for product rollouts, but today his thoughts drifted to bilirubin counts and milliliter feeds. He concluded the call, rubbed his temples, and stepped into the corridor, where Zoe Adebayo leaned against the wall in a fitted burgundy suit, scrolling her phone. Her presence sliced the sterile air like expensive perfume. Evan froze. "Zoe, you cannot be here." She looked up, mouth curving. "Security waved me through when I said I was your chief of staff. I have the weekly M&A briefs and some personal effects from your desk." "I never asked." "You never had to." She slipped her phone into her tote, eyes sweeping over his wrinkled t-shirt and visitor badge. "You look rough. Let me take you for real food." "I appreciate it, but I am not leaving." Her gaze softened in practiced empathy. "Evan, you are killing yourself with guilt. The company still needs you functioning." He exhaled sharply. "Nova needs me functioning more." Zoe's smile flickered, surprise flicking across her polished features. "Nova." "Our daughter," he said, voice steady. Zoe tucked a strand of hair behind her. "We have a board call Monday. Investors are on edge. A photo with you and the baby could humanize the narrative." Evan's jaw tightened. "She is not a press release." Zoe stepped closer, heels tapping. "I am not your enemy. Yesterday, the board asked if paternity leave was a ploy to avoid tough questions about the Dubai compliance issue. I defended you." "Thank you," Evan said, though his gratitude felt like a coat that no longer fit. "But my priorities have changed." The elevator chimed. Chica emerged, carrying fresh clothes for Maya. She spotted Evan, then Zoe. Her brows arched. "Who is this?" she asked, voice laced with suspicion. Zoe straightened. "I am Mr. Quinn's chief of staff." Chica tilted her head, gaze assessing the subtle chemistry. "Chief of what, exactly?" Evan stepped in. Zoe was leaving. "Actually, Zoe began, but Chica cut her off. Hospital corridors are for family, not power lunches, Chica said coolly. Unless you plan to scrub in, step aside. Zoe's nostrils flared. Excuse me. Chica advanced one pace, shoulders squared. Not yet, but I might. The tension crackled. Evan raised a calming hand. Zoe, I will call you later. Zoe's eyes darted between them, victory slipping. She offered Evan a folder. The compliance documents. Time-sensitive. Her gaze lingered a beat too long. Then she pivoted and strode to the elevator, heels echoing like punctuation marks. When the doors closed, Chica exhaled. Trash disposal complete. Evan managed a weary smile. She means well, in her own compass. Chica scoffed. A compass spinning on greed points nowhere. They entered Maya's room. Maya sat cross-legged on the bed, sketching baby blanket designs on her tablet. She looked up, sensing the shift in A. Everything okay? Zoe visited. Evan admitted. Maya's stylus paused. Why? Evan shrugged. Work crises. She brought documents. Chica snorted. And ulterior motives. Maya inhaled, eyes closing briefly. I suspected as much. Rumors travel quickly in design cycles. Apparently some investors saw you and Zoe at the Sahara Tech Gala. Evan's cheeks heated. I never. There was dinner with the delegation. She attended. Nothing more. But I allowed the appearance, which is betrayal enough. Maya considered, then set her tablet aside. Intimacy is measured by intention as much as action. Whether you crossed the line physically, you crossed it in neglect. Your absence gave her room to imagine herself as your partner. Evan lowered his gaze. You are right. Chica unpacked the bag, giving them space. Maya spoke again, quieter. Clear boundaries, Evan. Not for me alone, but for Nova. She will learn how love behaves by watching us. Evan met her eyes, resolve sharpening. Boundaries etched in stone. Maya held the stare one beat longer, testing sincerity. Then she nodded and picked up her stylus. Good. Now help me pick a pattern, constellations or coral reefs. Evan approached, studying the sketches. Why not both? Stars above, reefs below. Nova will know she belongs to sky and sea. A smile tugged at Maya's lips. For the first time since the taxi, laughter fluttered in her chest, shy but alive. She let it out, the sound filling the room like early spring birdsong. Evan's answering smile was cautious, like a man touching glass he once shattered. That night Evan stayed in the parents' lounge, scrolling compliance notes, but his mind snagged on Zoe's proposal. Could a carefully framed baby photo sway cynical investors? He closed his eyes and pictured Nova's fragile body wired to machines. He pictured a corporate press kit cropping out her oxygen tubes for aesthetics. His stomach rolled. He tapped a voice memo to the board chair instead. Postpone Monday call. I will share earnings update Wednesday with full transparency, including personal context if necessary, but my daughter's privacy is non-negotiable. He hit send before fear could dilute his conviction. A deep breath filled his lungs with disinfectant air. It smelled of betadine and second chances. 2 weeks after the surgery, Maya was strong enough to transfer to a step-down suite. As orderlies wheeled her bed, she clutched a Polaroid photograph of Nova taken during their latest kangaroo session. The baby's cheeks had plumped faintly, and her eyes, one iris a deeper brown than the other, a quirky genetic sparkle, peeked at the camera. Chica had decorated the new room with potted lavender, solar fairy lights, and a cork board titled Project Nova, Milestones. Colored pins marked daily weight gains, oxygen reductions, and first reflexes. Maya gasped. You are ridiculous and wonderful. Chica winked. I manage projects. Consider me your postpartum project manager. The sisters laughed, the sound threading through the antiseptic hum. Evan appeared in the doorway carrying a stack of books. He paused, absorbing the whimsy. I see phase-gate methodology has met motherhood. Deliverables are joy, Chica replied. Evan placed the books on the side table. Astronomy for Toddlers, Ocean Wonders, and one classic, Goodnight Moon in Igbo and English. Maya's brows lifted. Where did you find that translation? I commissioned a linguist on Fiverr overnight, he admitted. Pricey, but worth it. Maya traced the embossed moon on the cover. She wanted to tell him it was perfect, but the compliment lodged in her throat. Instead, she said, "Nova will love it." Evan nodded, accepting the half-praise without complaint. That afternoon, Maya visited the pumping station for mothers. Neonatal nurses coached her through the awkward dance of tubes and suction. Each droplet of colostrum felt like liquid gold, and she cried quietly when the bottle finally held 20 milliliters. She labeled it Nova, mother's milk, day 14, and watched a nurse carry it to the NICU. Pride bloomed, unruly and bright. Exhausted, Maya returned to her room and fell into a deep sleep. Dreams unfolded. She was walking through a forest of street lamps, each lamp holding a tiny incubator. One by one, lamps blinked on, illuminating babies who smiled, transforming into shooting stars that ascended between the leaves. She awoke to hushed voices near the foot of her bed. "Let her rest," Evan whispered. "She needs fresh air," Chica whispered back. "A stroll in the courtyard." Maya opened her eyes. "Both of you, stop plotting." They turned, sheepish. Maya sat up slowly. "I will go outside for 10 minutes if someone brings me a wheelchair and a scarf." Evan fetched the chair. Chica draped a vibrant Kent scarf around Maya's shoulders. Together they wheeled her to the rooftop garden, where frangipani trees and solar lanterns created an oasis above the traffic roar. Evening sun painted the clouds tangerine. Maya inhaled, scent of damp soil grounding her. She lifted her face to the breeze, eyes closed. When she opened them, she found Evan watching her, expression unreadable. She looked away, focusing on the skyline. Evan knelt beside her chair. "Maya, may I speak?" She folded the scarf tighter. "Talk." He took a breath. "I have spent 2 weeks dissecting my failures. Fear disguised as ambition, pride disguised as protection. I cannot undo the night I put you in that taxi, nor the months I placed you behind quarterly goals. But I can show up for every dawn that follows." Maya listened, heart thumping. Evan continued, voice steady. "I created a new corporate policy this morning. 6 months fully paid parental leave for all employees, secondary caregiver included, plus NICU grant funding for staff families who face premature deliveries. The board approved because I threatened to resign if they refused." Maya's eyes widened. "You threatened your own company." "I leveraged it," he said. "Power unused for others might as well be rust." Maya's throat felt tight. "Why did I hear this from Chisholm, not you?" "Because I wanted to secure the policy before presenting lip service. Action first, apology second." She considered. The sunset painted Evan's face amber. Lines of fatigue cut his eyes, yet beneath them she saw a calm she had rarely witnessed. Not the calm of conquest, but of surrender to something larger. A nurse appeared, signaling visiting time. Maya nodded to Evan. "Walk me to Nova." They descended 1 floor. At the NICU entry, Maya performed the hand-wash ritual with practiced grace. Evan matched her motions. Inside, Nova slept, oxygen cannula gone. Only a feeding tube remained. Dr. Edifemi approached. "Big news. Nova took 30 milliliters by bottle today. We might attempt full oral feeds next week." Maya's smile widened. Evan blinked back tears. Maya reached into the incubator's side port, offering her finger. Nova wrapped her tiny hand around it. Maya whispered. "She woke up, little star." She turned to Evan. "But she did not wake up for you. She woke up because life summoned her. If you wish to be her lighthouse, stand steady. The tide will judge your consistency." Evan bowed his head. "I will." Maya glanced at Chica, who gave a subtle nod. Small steps, she reminded herself. Muscles grow under strain. They spent the evening reading to Nova. Evan voiced the narrator while Maya supplied background hums, weaving a duet that felt like fragile silk stitching torn cloth. When security announced final rounds, they left the NICU together. In the hall, Maya touched Evan's arm. "Thank you for the policy," she said, words soft but earnest. "That is a step." Evan covered her hand with his. "I will take every step." She moved her hand away, not cold, just cautious. "Good night, Evan." "Good night, Maya." He walked toward the parents' lounge while she wheeled to her suite. Behind their separate doors, both whispered the same vow. Tomorrow, more steps. Tiny lungs slow, tiny mind drifts. In dream space she floats between a father's constellations and a mother's coral reefs. Stars pulse like metronomes, reefs sway like curtain silk. In the ocean above the sky, two voices braid lullabies. Nova sleeps on the seam where forgiveness may root. The hospital cafeteria at 2 in the morning was a kingdom of humming refrigerators and exhausted parents clutching paper cups. Evan sat at a corner table, a bundle of sterilized bottles beside him, skimming an online handbook titled Premium Nutrition for Beginners. His eyes burned, not only from lack of sleep but from relentless self-interrogation. Each quiet second asked the same question: how many ways can one man repent? Footsteps approached. Nurse Tolani, a tower of calm and lavender scrubs, placed a laminated chart in front of him. Night feeding schedule, she said, tapping times highlighted in mint green. We start oral feeds every 3 hours. You volunteer for the odd slots. Maya takes the evens. Evan traced the mint bars. 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock. I will be ready. Tolani studied him. Have you ever held a 32 milliliter syringe before? I have controlled budgets with 12 zeros, he answered. But infants shrink egos fast. Teach me. She smiled. Follow me. Inside the hushed cocoon of the NICU, monitors blinked like urban constellations. Nova lay swaddled in a sunflower-printed blanket, eyelids fluttering in REM dreams. Evan washed his hands, donned a yellow gown, and slid into the rocking chair beside her incubator. Tolani handed him the syringe attached to fine silicone tubing. Angle is everything, she coached. Keep her head slightly higher than her hips. If she grimaces, pause. Breath and swallow coordination is brand new for preemies. Evan's palm trembled as he guided the tube to Nova's mouth. Tiny lips closed instinctively, and for a fragile second he saw Maya's determination written on their calf. He depressed the plunger 1 milliliter, then another, counting quiet heartbeats between. Nova sucked, throat bubbling like a hatchling bird. The monitor beat to steady metronome. 4 milliliters in, Evan's vision blurred. He remembered the grand IPO after-party last year. Silver balloons, dry ice cocktails, cameras flashing. He had felt invincible, a titan forging tomorrow. Tonight he felt microscopic, praying over a teaspoon of milk. And for the first time, the smallness felt like truth instead of failure. Tolani nudged his shoulder. Textbook form. Slow and steady. When the syringe emptied, she withdrew the tubing and patted Nova's back with 2 fingers. A soft burp escaped, sweet, triumphant. Evan exhaled a shaky laugh that morphed into tears. They dripped onto the gown, forming tiny dark planets on yellow cloth. Tolani handed him a tissue. Regret weighs a ton, but look, she digests only hope. Evan dabbed his cheeks. Hope it is. Across the corridor in her step-down suite, Maya jolted awake to the alarm of her phone. She checked the time. 3:02. Evan's slot. She resisted the urge to hover. Trust is a muscle. She opened her meditation app instead, letting ocean sounds cradle frayed nerves. But images intruded. Evan pacing boardrooms, Evan ducking reporters' microphones, Evan sending her into the storm. She clenched her jaw and tried a different exercise, listing facts. Evan had not missed a single feed in 9 days. Nova gained 100 grams this week. The new parental leave policy was already viral on TechWatch, praised as groundbreaking. Fact 3 tugged at her skepticism. Was publicity his real motive? Yet she recalled the email thread Chica had forwarded, Evan countering investors who called the policy distracting socialism. His replies had been fierce, eloquent, and deeply personal. No PR agent would approve such rawness. Maya rose, grabbed her journal, and wrote a single sentence. We measure a person not only by the storms they cause, but by the bridges they build afterward. Then she underlined it twice and allowed herself a fragile smile. At dawn, Dr. Adefemi gathered the parents for vitals updates. Evan stood beside Maya, both sipping watery coffee. Weight, 1.95 kilograms, the doctor announced. Respiratory support discontinued at 2 o'clock. Nova tolerated 50% of feeds orally. He looked up, eyes twinkling behind rimless glasses. That is a marathon's worth of progress in 2 weeks. Maya clasped her hands. When can we hold her without all these leads? Let us see 48 hours of stable vitals, then we trial her in an open crib, Adefemi said. Practice your lullabies. Evan asked, what milestone should we prep for next? Temperature regulation, suck-swallow breath rhythm, then the car seat test, the doctor replied. Pass those, and discharge planning begins. Maya's heart thumped. Home, she whispered. Home was complicated. The condo that once glimmered with promise now felt haunted by echoes of that stormy night. Yet the thought of bringing Nova to new walls stirred excitement. A nursery-painted buttercream, mobile spun with planets. She glanced at Evan. Surprise flashed. His eyes brimmed with the same longing. Chica arrived mid-morning brandishing a clipboard. Boot camp time, she declared. Operation Parent Readiness starts now. I booked the family training suite from 11 till 1400. Maya groaned. You did not. I did. Car seat installation drills, infant CPR refresher, swaddle speed trials. Evan, you are on sterilization duty. Evan saluted. Yes, In the suite, a mannequin baby lay on a table. Chica set a timer. 30 seconds to achieve hospital-grade swaddle. Go. Evan fumbled with flannel, producing a lumpy burrito. Maya's turn produced a tighter wrap, but legs were pinned too straight. Chica tut-tutted. Redo. They repeated until arms, tucks, and folds moved like choreography. They practiced diaper changes blindfolded. Evan accidentally taped a nappy to his sleeve. Maya laughed so hard tears sprang. Laughter, real, unguarded, bounced off the tiled walls and wrapped them in warmth deeper than any incubator. During CPR practice, Evan's hands shook at the thought of compressing Nova's miniature chest. Maya covered his hands. Press with 2 fingers. No more, she coached, demonstrating gentle yet firm pushes on the mannequin. Evan copied, hands steadier. Chica snapped a photo. Look at you two, co-captains of Nova's spaceship. Maya did not pull away from Evan's side for a long moment. Somewhere along the swaddles and laughter, a stitch of trust had tightened. That evening, EVA, the volunteer harpist whose name actually was Eva, performed a lullaby beside Nova's incubator. Parents gathered, hush rippling like candlelight. When the final note faded, Maya leaned toward Evan. Walk with me. They left the ward and descended to the courtyard lit by warm lanterns. Hibiscus petals carpeted the path, red against moonlight. Maya spoke first. Do you remember the night we met? Evan's smile was soft. Designers versus developers mixer in Dubai. You wore a jumpsuit covered in hand-painted galaxies. I spilled mango juice on my sleeve. You fetched soda water to blot it. He chuckled. You asked if I always rescue strangers in cosmic attire. Maya inhaled the lavender-scented air. I think about that night because I never doubted your kindness then. Somewhere on the climb to success, you swapped kindness for conquest. She paused. I need to know that the man by the juice bar was not temporary. Evan's throat bobbed. Ambition became armor. I feared losing what I built, so I began to hoard time, energy, affection. But Nova, she is a wrecking ball to my armor. He gathered courage. I joined a support group for high-performing fathers. The therapist said perfectionism is trauma wearing a gold watch. Maya blinked. I never knew you were willing to sit in a circle of vulnerability. I would sit in a hurricane of it if it makes me a father worthy of our daughter. He swallowed. And maybe, if the universe is merciful, a partner who earns your trust again. They reached a bench under a jacaranda tree. Moonlight stippled through purple blossoms. Maya faced him. Evan, I do not promise anything yet. My heart is in ICU just like Nova was. But I see your effort, and effort matters. He reached into his pocket, pulling out the small leather journal. Every page is a letter to Nova, and to you. When you feel strong enough, read them. Maya accepted the journal. The leather was warm from his palm. She tucked it against her chest like a new heartbeat. I will. They sat in comfortable silence until a faint cry drifted from an open window. Another baby staring. Maya rose. Time for Nova's 11 o'clock. Let us practice what we learned. Together they walked back, steps synchronizing. 2 days later, Nova graduated to an open crib. The tubes were gone save for a skinny monitor wire hugging her foot. Her cheeks rounded. Her fists punched the air in slow-motion victory. Maya squealed. Evan high-fived the nurse, and Chica performed a celebratory shuffle that made other parents grin. Dr. Adefemi approached with discharge paperwork to start completing sections in advance. At this pace, Nova may go home in 10 to 14 days, he said. Maya clutched the crib railing. Home. Evan cleared his throat. There's one more thing. I brought something for her crib. He retrieved a hand-carved wooden plaque from a tote. The wood, rich mahogany, held laser-etched lettering gilded in pale gold. Nova, the light that outshines the night. He set it at the foot of the crib. Maya traced the letters, emotion hitching. You carved this. I modeled it in CAD. Then a craftsman in Lecky carved, and I finished the edges myself, Evan said. I left space underneath for a middle name if you wish. Maya inhaled. Nova Quinn. Evan's eyes widened. My surname. She shook her head, smiling. Quin is short for quintessence, the purest form of something. She pointed to the blank space and whispered, Nova Quintessence Nwosu. Evan's lips parted, reverence softening his voice. Perfect. Maya looked at him, tears pooling. She is the only thing that showed me how dark I had become, he added, repeating the line from earlier days. Maya pressed a hand to her heart, and she showed me that I can rise even when abandoned. A nurse announced feeding time. Maya cradled Nova, guiding the bottle, while Evan measured temperature with a tiny digital thermometer. Nova's eyes watched them, pupils reflecting a flicker of comprehension, as if realizing the universe outside the crib included two faces leaning close, their combined warmth weaving a force field. When the feed finished, Maya held Nova upright, patting her back. Evan sat beside her on the couch provided for bonding time. A quiet fell, broken only by the faint whoosh of the vac and Nova's sighs. Do you ever fear we will fail her again? Evan whispered. Maya adjusted Nova's blanket. Fear is inevitable, but we can choose response over reaction. If we stumble, we admit it fast, repair faster. She met his gaze. Love is not flawless execution. It is constant calibration. Evan nodded, tears bright. Calibration, he repeated softly. That night, after Evan's shift, Maya reclined in bed and opened his leather journal. The first entry dated the day of the taxi incident. I built towers of metrics so tall I forgot the ground. Tonight the rain-proofed steel melts when mercy is missing. Pages unfurled, sketches of Nova's foot, poems about incubator light, diagrams for the parental leave policy. Maya's tears soaked the margins. Each page was a brick in the bridge he was building, mortar made of humility and intent. At the final entry she gasped. A watercolor sketch of hair, eyes fierce, hair wrapped in a scarf, holding Nova against her chest like a general cradling a flag. Underneath, a caption. Motherhood is not the opposite of power. Motherhood is power multiplied by purpose. Maya pressed the book to her heart and wept, not from pain but from the stunning possibility that redemption might suit them after all. 2 mornings later they reached the dreaded car seat test. Nova had to sit buckled at 45 degrees for 90 minutes without oxygen dips. Nurses buzzed like pit crew engineers, fitting sensors. Evan adjusted the straps. Feels loose. Maya checked the chest clip. Finger rule. Snug but not tight. They sat on either side watching monitors. Nova looked bewildered at the strange throne, but accepted a pacifier like a diplomat signing peace agreements. 30 minutes in, oxygen dipped to 91 and alarms chirped. Maya's heart seized. Evan stroked Nova's arm, whispering steady, sty. The number ticked back to 94. They exhaled. At 89 minutes, Nova yawned theatrically as if bored by the challenge. The nurse gave a thumbs up. She passes. Applause broke out among nearby parents who had been rooting for Nova's milestone. Maya lifted Nova into her arms and pressed a kiss to her forehead. Evan looked as if he might fall to his knees in gratitude. On the eve of discharge, Maya stood by the panoramic NICU windows as sunset painted the sky violet and gold. Evan approached carrying 2 steaming cups of chai. He offered one. To the final night under hospital lights, he said. Maya clinked her cup against his. And the first dawn of many we will witness together. They sipped. Evan spoke softly. I found a family therapist who specializes in post-NICU transitions. Weekly sessions, both of us. No excuses. Maya smiled appreciatively. Scheduled growth. I like that. I also listed the condo, he added. Too many ghosts. Nova deserves a place born of joy, not regret. I rented a small house near Freedom Park for 6 months while we hunt for something permanent. You can stay in your sister's apartment or join us there as you wish. No pressure. Maya's eyebrows rose. You are moving out of your sanctuary in the sky. I am trading height for roots, he said. Maya's heart fluttered. Let me think. But thank you. A hush settled, filled with waves of distant machines. Then Evan chuckled. Remember the mango juice incident? I still have that jumpsuit. Maya laughed. Probably stained for eternity. Some stains tell good stories, he said. She held his gaze. In his eyes she no longer saw storm clouds but sunrise after rain. She squeezed his hand. Brief, intentional, hopeful. Nova's first dawn outside the hospital arrived on a hush of pink sky and soft harmattan breeze. Maya fastened the infant carrier into the back seat of Chica's sedan while Evan triple-checked the belt path. Their movements were choreographed by weeks of NICU drills, yet each buckle click reverberated like cathedral bells. Ready, little light. Maya whispered. Nova responded with a gurgle that sounded suspiciously like agreement. Chica slid behind the wheel. Evan took the passenger seat, clutching a diaper go bag like sacred scripture. Maya sat beside Nova, one hand braced near the baby's head, the other gripping a travel mug of lukewarm ginger tea. As the sedan eased onto the Lekki Bridge, Lagos stayed. Hawkers unfurling stalls, mosque minarets echoing the call to prayer, motorbikes weaving through dawn traffic. Maya watched the skyline shrink behind them and rubbed Nova's tiny foot for courage. The city had almost swallowed them in sorrow. Today it felt like a launching pad. Their interim home occupied the ground floor of a refurbished colonial cottage near Freedom Park. Bougainvillea vines cascaded over whitewashed walls, and the air smelled of roasted plantains drifting from a nearby vendor. Evan unlocked the wrought iron gate, then held it wide as Maya carried Nova through. Crossing that threshold felt ceremonial, like baptizing stone with new memories. Inside, sunlight pooled across honey oak floors. In the corner of the living room stood a makeshift nursery, a rattan bassinet dressed in coral reef patterned sheets, a rocking chair draped with a galaxy jumpsuit that had survived the mango stain, and a low shelf lined with board books. One wall bore a mural Evan had painted during midnight hours, a reef of stylized corals rising into a star-filled night, sky merging with sea exactly as Nova's blanket design foretold. Maya inhaled. She has sailed home. Chica wiped a tear. Mission accomplished. After hugs and promises of afternoon jollof delivery, Chica left. The new trio exhaled into silence interrupted only by Nova's contented squeaks. Evan lifted the baby from his seat, and together they placed her in the bassinet. She blinked at the dancing colors on the wall, then drifted into sleep. Maya turned to Evan. We need ground rules before fatigue erodes goodwill. Evan nodded. Rule 1, communication stays real-time. No festering. Rule 2, Maya added. Night feeds rotate, but whoever is on call may request backup without shame. Rule 3, Evan said, meeting her gaze. Parenting decisions require both signatures and less lives are at stake. Maya held up a final finger. Rule 4, we protect our peace. No surprise visitors, no press queries, no work calls during feedings. Agreed, Evan said solemnly. They shook hands, an oddly formal gesture that made them laugh, dissolving tension. 2 days later Evan joined a remote board meeting from the spare bedroom, now converted into a minimalist office. Maya listened through the half-closed door as he presented quarterly numbers, solid, and then unveiled the expanded parental leave roadmap. He had aggregated anonymized NICU data, economic analyses, and personal testimony into a slide deck that radiated both intellect and empathy. When a director grumbled about cost projections, Evan responded, retention savings eclipse policy expense within 18 months. Moreover, we are not a company if we erode the humans who build it. Maya's heart swelled. She pictured the man who once measured success in share valuations alone, now defending family welfare with the ferocity of a lioness. The vote passed 8-3. Evan thanked the board, ended the call, and sank into his chair, tears bright. Maya stepped inside, placing a hand on his shoulder. You changed the system, not just a policy. He covered her hand with his. Nova changed me first. News of the policy went viral again, this time accompanied by an op-ed Evan published in Tech Republic titled Metrics Are Meaningless Without Mothers. He recounted their ordeal, no sensational photos, only courageously honest prose. Comments flooded in, parents reciting their own NICU stories, founders pledging to review leave structures, legislators tagging healthcare committees. Meanwhile, Maya's design studio, which she had run remotely during the hospital weeks, received a surge of requests after she posted her mural on social media. Clients wanted branding infused with the same fusion of grit and wonder. Yet Maya replied selectively. Her priority was healing, not hustle. She accepted one pro bono commission, redecorating the hospital parents' lounge with soothing reef and constellation motifs. One evening, Evan found her sketching color palettes at the kitchen table. "You are giving them the mural in your mind." Maya smiled. "I owe that place so much. Besides, art prints easier than sleep lately." He poured chamomile tea. "We can install it together. Nova's first philanthropic outing." Maya laughed. She will conquer the art world before teething. Wednesday arrived with their first family therapy appointment. The counselor, Dr. Kelechi Olabai, greeted them in a sunlit studio filled with plants and floor cushions. Nova dozed in a sling on Maya's chest. Dr. Olabai invited them to recount the taxi night separately, then together. Evan's voice broke, describing the moment headlights swallowed the cab and realization hit like a fallen girder. Maya's tears flowed when she remembered clutching her belly on that street bench, feeling both entirely alone and fiercely protective. The counselor listened, then introduced an exercise. Evan cradled a clay sphere representing fear. Maya molded one for betrayal. They pressed the spheres together, kneading until a single marbled orb formed, symbolizing shared responsibility. Then Dr. Olabai asked them to etch words of intention onto the new shape. Evan carved presence. Maya carved peace. They left lighter by ounces, even as Nova's diaper promptly weighed them down again. Life, it seemed, had flawless comedic timing. Weeks blurred into rhythms, feeding intervals, summertime giggles, therapy sessions, client calls, board updates. Nova's weight climbed past 3 kilograms. She outgrew the bassinet and graduated to a white oak crib. Nights were still fractured, but sometimes, between the 2 and 5 o'clock feeds, Maya and Evan found themselves side by side on the living room carpet, watching city lights flicker through gauzy curtains. One such night, Maya traced the mural's horizon line. "Do you ever mourn what we lost? The ease, the blind trust?" Evan considered. "Ease, yes. Blindness, no. Seeing is harder, but sight is better than speed." Maya nodded. "I am not ready to define us, but I no longer feel like a lone planet." He shifted closer but kept respectful space. "Whether we orbit together or apart, Nova stays our sun." Maya rested her head against the sofa. "Then let us keep learning the mathematics of orbits." Somewhere beyond the window, a distant thunder roll promised rain. Evan fetched a blanket, draped it over Maya's legs, then lay on his back, gaze fixed on the ceiling stars he had painted above the mural. They dozed, not touching, yet aligned like twin ships following the same lighthouse beam. 6 months later, Freedom Park hosted the annual Lagos Family Tech Fair. Evan's company sponsored a neonatal tech pavilion showcasing affordable incubators for rural clinics. Maya designed the pavilion's aesthetic, sweeping coral arches that morphed into starlit domes, earning gasps from visitors. On opening morning, they arrived early. Nova, now sturdy and wide-eyed, rode in a sling patterned with galaxies. She stretched arms toward floating holograms of constellations that twinkled above incubator displays. A journalist approached, requesting the family's photo. Evan glanced at Maya for consent. She assessed the camera, considered the path they had walked, and nodded. Flash. The image captured a father kneeling beside an incubator prototype, a mother standing tall beside coral arches, and a baby reaching for virtual stars. 3 souls no longer defined by betrayal but by the bridge they had built from its wreckage. During the keynote, Evan unveiled a new initiative, a foundation named Quintessence Light providing hardship grants to families facing high-risk pregnancies. The crowd applauded as he introduced co-founder Maya Nwosu, whose design firm would donate brand strategy to partner clinics. Maya stepped to the podium, Nova tucked against her hip. "Our daughter arrived early, yet on time for her mission," she began. "She taught us that broken beginnings are invitations to engineer better futures. This pavilion is a seed. Let us plant forests of care across every postcode." The applause thundered. Evan watched, pride spilling into all. That night they returned to the cottage, exhausted but elated. While Evan bathed Nova, Maya brewed cocoa. Steam curled upward like incense of gratitude. When Nova was tucked into bed, they sat on the porch steps, evening air cool against their faces. Evan turned to Maya. Life at altitude taught me height. Life in NICU taught me depth. With you, I am learning width, the breadth of feeling. Maya sipped cocoa, smile warm. And width requires space. Let us respect space, even while standing together. Evan inhaled. Maya, whatever label you choose for us, co-parents, partners, friends, I accept. My commitment is simple. I will show up. I will stay. She set her mug down, folded his hand in hers. Then we begin right here, one truth at a time. They sat in silence, comfort woven between fingers, until a soft cry signaled Nova's dream staring. Together they rose, back into the house where Reef met Sky, ready to answer their daughter's call. On Nova's first birthday, friends and hospital staff gathered in the renovated parents' lounge. The walls bloomed with Maya's mural, coral reefs ascending into constellations, punctuated by words in swirling script: presence, peace, quintessence. Beneath the largest star hung the marbled clay orb from therapy, now glazed and glinting. Dr. Adefemi lit a single candle atop a mango-flavored cake. Nova clapped chubby hands, eyes bright. Evan knelt to hold the plate steady while Maya guided Nova's tiny finger to pat the frosting. Make a wish, Chica called. Nova squealed. Evan and Maya exchanged a glance, an unspoken vow to keep choosing action over apology, calibration over perfection. They leaned together, blowing the candle for their daughter whose lungs once needed machines and now filled the room with laughter. Applause erupted. Cameras flashed. Outside, Lagos traffic roared like an untamed sea. But inside, Reef and Sky held fast, stitched forever by one girl's luminous name.
Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment your thoughts and share our channel with your friends. See you in the next story. From your favorite stories.